Welcome in, belly up, have a seat and grab a drink as we talk some Wingman Fantasy Football. Welcome into another edition of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League Podcast. I'm your host, Michael Furley, and as always, I'd like to thank all of you, or any of you who may be watching or listening to today's show. This is episode 122, Week 11's 2-Point Conversation. And I'd like to welcome into the bar Mr. Bernie, a.k.a. Team B.
I'm Cuban B. Yes, Cuban B.
How are you doing this morning, Bernie?
I am managing expectations like a first-round pick, highly rated and under-delivering.
That's my status quo in life, my man. Always under-deliver. Okay. All right. So in this show today, let's see, we are going to go over some player news. We'll go through the studs and duds for Week 11, and we'll also settle into a nice Week 11's 2-Point Conversation, where we go through all of the action in the NFL up to this point. But before we do any of that, let's make sure that everybody is in the room. Wingman Assemble! This is actually good. Our player news today is a short list. That usually means good things, especially on these 2-Point Conversation episodes. So let's get into the news. Starting off with Harrison Butker, kicker for the Kansas City Chiefs, was placed on the IR prior to today's game, had a knee procedure, and he's going to miss at least 3 more games before he's eligible to return to the Chiefs. Now we had a pair of Jaguars who missed today, and it seemed like way more than just 2, as there were hardly anyone on the field making tackles today for those Jaguars, as Tank Bigsby and Trevor Lawrence both missed today's game. Bigsby with an ankle issue, and Trevor Lawrence is dealing with that shoulder sprain. Keon Coleman and Dalton Kincaid, a pair of pass catchers for the Buffalo Bills, were also missing today's action, with Keon Coleman out with a bum wrist and Dalton Kincaid dealing with a knee injury. And we had a couple of tight ends, high draft value tight ends, and Sam Laporta was out with a shoulder injury, and George Kittle was out with a hamstring injury. If you saw our show earlier on Sunday, you knew that George Kittle was unlikely to play, and you pivoted. Nice job, Ben. Isaiah Pacheco was also unavailable, as he is still yet to be activated off that IR, but that is coming sooner than later, as it looks like Kareem Hunt might be slowing down. And as for players who left today's game early, we only had a couple, which is great. But one of these was one of Bernie's Team B's player, as Darnell Mooney was unable to finish Sunday's game against the Broncos, as he is now dealing with a hamstring injury. And Alexander Madison also did not finish the game against the Dolphins today, as he was dealing with an ankle injury. Keep in mind that Zamir White was also, I don't know if he was questionable today. I don't know if he left early or not, because he's not on anyone's team. But Amir Abdullah got all the work in that fourth quarter. So keep in mind, if you are desperate for a running back, Amir Abdullah might be someone to target. All right, what do you have on these guys who missed some time and a couple of these guys who left the game early today?
Yeah, well, it was a tough one for Atlanta. So I was watching that game, and Mooney, they couldn't get anything going on the offense. So it's unfortunate that on a losing team that he got hurt for that. Kittle definitely needed him today. Laporta, they didn't need him at all today. And as predicted, Jameson Williams did a great job filling in that deep down the middle slot passing in the passing game. Let's see, Jacksonville, that they definitely need Trevor. They could use Tank too, but they definitely need Trevor. There's nothing going on there. And Mr. Butker, well, at least his wife will be at home and she'll be able to take care of him.
I was trying to stay away from that for so long, but you put it there. Okay. All right. All right, guys, it is now time to get into our studs and duds for Week 11.
Sometimes you win, sometimes you lose.
Wingman Fantasy Football, studs and duds.
All right, Bernie, before we start, do you feel like a stud or a dud today?
Ooh, I feel like a dud today. That's why I'm wearing this brown jacket here, because I just feel like a milk dud. I got a shaved head that's brown.
Oh,
I got a
jeez.
shirt that's brown. Giant milk dud today.
You're making me hungry. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right. Why don't you start us off with our stud list this week?
All right. Starting from the top, it hurts my heart to say it, but Mr. Bo Nix put a whooping on Atlanta with 28.78 fantasy points, 307 passing yards, that's right, I said it, 4 passing touchdowns, and a measly 5 rushing yards. So good job, Mr. Bo Nix. Matt Stafford, he does what he does. 27.8 points. That's a good rebound game. 295 passing yards and 4 passing touchdowns. I see a trend developing. And Mr. Famous Jameis Winston, 26.6 points on a losing team today, but that's okay, Jameis. You did great. 395 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, and 8 rushing yards. And then finally, Mr. Josh Allen, Mr. Beast himself, 25.98 points, 262 passing yards, 1 passing touchdown, 55 rushing yards, and 1 beastly rushing touchdown at the end.
Yes. Keeping the trend here with bounce back quarterbacks. Sam Darnold, after a couple of bad games in his worst game of the season, at least in terms of fantasy stats, rebounded with a nice 25.64 point outing today against I forget who they played, actually, as they had 246 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns, 18 rushing yards, and 1 rushing touchdown for the redheaded top man there.
Against
Jerry
Tennessee.
Jeudy.
Sorry.
Go ahead. Who did they play?
Against Tennessee.
Tennessee. Thank you. Jerry Jeudy, what is happening? He got all these in the first half, essentially, as I saw his whopping stat, and it pretty much stayed put, 23.2 points. He had 142 receiving yards on 6 receptions and getting himself into the end zone 1 time. And David Montgomery started off the day for the Detroit Lions in a butt whooping against the Jacksonville Jaguars. So we know for sure that in terms of cat fights, Lions will always beat Jaguars, as he had 23 points, even totaling 95 total yards, getting 3 catches and scoring 2 times for David Montgomery. And Puka Nacua. Puka Nacua had 21.8 points. That guy, he makes such great, difficult catches, and they're not reach for, they're just ones, if you hit the ground that hard, you would drop the ball, and I don't know how he holds on. He had, he had 123 receiving yards on 7 receptions, including a great diving catch on the sideline of the end zone to score in that game.
Yes, it was. All right. Next on the list is Mr. Josh Jacobs. JJ, hey, 21.4 points with 134 total yards, 4 receptions, and 1 touchdown. And here, surprise, there's another Detroit Lion on this list, Mr. Jameson Williams, 20.6 points, 126 total yards, 4 receptions, and 1 touchdown. Not the last Lion that's going to be on this list. Mr. Jawan Jennings, on the manager's roster I was playing against, and put him over the top for my defeat. 20.1 fantasy points, 91 receiving yards, 10 receptions, and 1 touchdown. He was the go-to get the first down guy today. And another Lion, Mr. Jahmyr Gibbs, 18.8 points, 123 total yards, 1 reception, and 1 touchdown. How many Lions could get 100 yards? They'd have to go up and down the field how many times for how many different Lions to get 100 yards?
Well, it's easy when there's no defense on the field, I guess, or not an opposing team. All right, we have our best MVS impersonation player this week, as Nick Westbrook-Akine had 18.7 points on 2 receptions for 117 receiving yards and a touchdown. 1 long bomb made his day today. And Devon, the man, A-Chan, got into the end zone, scoring 18.5 points as he totaled 105 yards on 5 receptions and that aforementioned touchdown. James Cook did his best Ramondre Stevenson impersonation as he scored 17.2 points. I had to double check this. He only had 27 total yards, but he had 5 catches and he scored twice. And Christian Watson, off of the waiver wire pickup this past week, was picked up and put right into Red Sox Nation's lineup, and he came through with 17 points. He scored 17 points without getting in the end zone, as he had 150 receiving yards on 4 catches. All right, like we say, whenever there's studs, there's got to be a counterbalance. There's got to be some duds. And we've got some starts of the week on this list. Let's just start off. Let's just pull the Band-Aid off right away.
Oh, we are going to pull it off right away, but we're gonna preface this with his fantasy numbers are dud, but he played great. Mr. Russell Wilson at the top of the dud list, only 8.3 fantasy points. Ooh, here's a guy that does deserve to be on the dud list fantasy wise and NFL wise. Mr. Kirk Cousins, 6.92 fantasy points. Mac Jones, I don't even know why you're starting, 6.22 points. Evan Ingram. This is a surprise one. Without any Trevor Lawrence, though, 5.3 fantasy points.
So the same thing happened to me this week, as I think it was maybe 2 weeks ago. I was getting ready. I was setting up this thing right before the games ended, and I would tweak it as I needed to. I had Geno Smith ready to put in this list, and then he scores the go-ahead touchdown at the buzzer, the way that Matt Stafford threw a walk-off touchdown in overtime a couple weeks ago, and I had to take him right out of that list. So moving along, more duds on this list. Another start of the week. This one hurt in more ways than one, and we will get into it in our 2-point conversation. Nick Chubb only had 5 points today. Devontae Smith started off Thursday with the dud on 4.9 points. Aaron Jones only had 4.8 points, and Travis Etienne of the backfield all to himself. He should have played quarterback today. He only had 4.8 points.
Here we go. Mr. Jalen Waddle, 4.7 points. DeAndre Hopkins, 4.4 points. Oh, that's interesting. 1 Waddles and 1 Hops. And Mr. Deebo Samuel, 4.2 points. These are 3 excellent receivers that pretty much dudded it out today. And Estime, how do you say his first name, Mike?
Oh, I think I added a E that's not there. It's Audric.
Okay. Audric Estime, 4 points today.
All right. I wasn't sure to put him on the list or not, but he always pops up in our waiver wire targets. So I just put him on here. Rashad Bateman had 4 points today. Tony Pollard finished with 3.9. And I thought I saw him with 1.1 point late into the game. He might have had I have to double check when his stats came, but unless I looked at it wrong, he might have had 15 yards in that last drive or so. Garrett Wilson, the Jets. Oh, we're going to lay into the Jets later. Don't you worry. He only had 3.8 points today. And Darnell Mooney, in a tough matchup against a strong defense, also couldn't finish the game, ended up with 3.7 points.
Ooh. Next up, we have Mark Andrews is on this list, 3.2 points. I saw Isaiah Likely on the field getting some work done, though, so that's understandable for Mr. Andrews. DeMarcus Robinson, 2.9 points. Tyler Lockett, that means DK's back, doesn't it? 2.9 points for Tyler Lockett. And TJ Hawkinson, 2.3 points for TJ.
Finishing up our duds for week 11 up to this point, we have Romeo Duds, only had 2.2 points for the Packers. Travis Kelce, this is at least the third player on Mac Daddy 2's team to be in this dud list. That stinks. And he's a newly acquired player. That stinks. Only 1.8 points for Travis Kelce. Terry McLaurin, who's been the model of consistency and excellence all year long, getting between 12 and 18 points in almost every game. Did not happen this time around. On Thursday night, he started off the week with a big-time dud, getting only 1.5 points. And Kyle Stinky Pitts is getting back to where he usually is at only 1.4 points. I can't tell if there's a Pitts problem or a Kirk Cousins problem or a Denver Broncos defense problem for the opponent. And we finish off with a couple of gooses as Ricky Pearsall was in a manager's starting lineup for our league this week, getting 0 points. And Deontay Johnson was also in the starting lineup for one of our managers, and he also got 0 points. All right, guys. Well, at least those duds hurt, but we had a nice long list of mecha studs. Half these guys you're not going to have on your team, but hey, they got to get their credit whenever they get it. So let's check in on our mecha studs.
Mega Studs.
All right, starting off with our highest scoring player of the week. You could have played him at your quarterback position, your tight end, even your running back. Either one would have worked because 41.52 points is good wherever you get it from. Taysom Hill in the weirdest game and stat line I ever had here. 18 passing yards, 138 rushing yards, 50 receiving yards with 8 catches. This is not one catch, 8 catches and 3 touchdowns. And each touchdown kept getting longer and longer and longer than the one before. If this game had another quarter and he was going to score a 112-yard touchdown, I guarantee it. Also on this list, start of the week. Yeah, there we go. Hey, let's do it. Jared Goff had 34.58 points, and I'm going to just do the stat line, and then we'll talk about what's in my mind here. He had 412 passing yards, 4 passing TDs, and 21 rushing yards. All right, do you remember when I said they're going to kill this game? And they did. I was nervous when all the first touchdowns were rushing, but I'm like, they want to get him off the snide a little bit because he's had, like, in these winning games, he's been very, 16 for 18, 125 yards, and 1 touchdown with 2 interceptions. Mm-hmm. They let him play in the second half as he just threw the ball. All of his stats came after the midway point of the second quarter, and they were already up 21-3. And it was they just let him have fun. And I'm not saying I knew it was going to happen, but that's how I kind of expected it to go. And it's nice when things go as you plan. So these were all this was just playground fun. And if you're going to have that many yards, we already had 3 guys in our dud list, but Amon-Ra St. Brown, the Sun God, had 33.6 points. All those came in the second half in playground time as he had 161 receiving yards, 11 catches on 11 targets, guys. He was perfect, and he scored 2 touchdowns, even though it was a great day for Amon-Ra, much to the dismay of Team B here, as that was his opponent this week. Starting the Thursday games off, Saquon Barkley is a mainstay on this list. He's on here at least 50% of the time, 32.8 points, and he was the only one who did anything on Thursday night, getting 198 total yards, 2 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. We combat our Amon-Ra St. Brown with Anthony Richardson. Nice job, as Bernie's Team B put him in at 12.59 at 30.08 points, and Richardson filled up the stats with 272 passing yards, 32 rushing yards, 1 passing touchdown, and 2 rushing touchdowns. Newly acquired Breece Hall from the trade deadline scored 27.6 points on minimal touches, really. I think he touched the ball like maybe 18 times, which is good overall, but not for someone who's doing that well. 121 total yards, 7 receptions, and 2 touchdowns. Cooper Kupp, the other receiver for the Rams, also had a huge day at 25.6 points as he had 106 receiving yards, 6 catches, and 2 touchdowns. Brock Bowers doing his best combination of Travis Kelce and who else? What's another big? George Kittle, as he had 25.1 points on 126 receiving yards on 13 catches, and he got in the end zone once himself. And Jonnu Smith, everyone has this guy. No one has this guy. He's a free agent. Jonnu Smith had 25.1 points for the Dolphins. He plays for the Dolphins. He had 101 receiving yards, 6 catches, and 2 touchdowns, including the one that broke the game open in the fourth quarter. And Chris Boswell, a kicker, made the Mecca stud list, and he was on the bench, as Red Sox Nation has been streaming kickers for the last 3 weeks, but this time he should have went with Old Faithful. Chris Boswell scored 24 points with 6 field goals, and 3 of those field goals were over 50 yards in a big-time clash against the Ravens this week. What do you think about some of these Mecca studs? Crazy points, crazy players, and crazy stat lines.
Yeah, I mean, when you got Matthew Stafford up on the stud list, when you got Mr. Jared Goff on the Mecca stud list, they're gonna have their go-to guys up there as well. So not anything crazy. Taysom Hill, I don't even know what to say. I don't want to be mean, but I don't even know what to say. If you could just take your ball and go home, that would be great. Spread the wealth just a little bit. I know it's not your call. It's the coach's call, but they finally figured it out. Hey, put this guy in and score some points.
Well, I will say I had the question if his usage, which wasn't as big as this today, obviously, but if his usage was tied to like being a favorite of Dennis Allen, it appears not, because he's getting just as much, if not more, since they made the coaching change. And since they made the coaching change, they are 2-0. What else here? Brock Bowers. A lot of it was comeback time, but he looked great today against the Dolphins with 13 catches. That's an impressive outing for the rookie.
I mean, with Brock Bowers and Jonnu Smith, it's just the battle of the tight ends in this game. But Jonnu Smith, I'm gonna have to do a new 4th and long segment called receipts, because I think I called this Jonnu Smith thing. I just didn't know when it was gonna happen. But I don't know. I got something right.
I know you were a fan of him last year. Did you mention it this year when they brought him in as like a nice acquisition?
Yeah,
I think it did too. I just don't recall exactly.
Yeah, I don't recall when, but I had a feeling that well, not a feeling. I had heard rumors that the tight end usage for the Dolphins in their plays was going to start to evolve because that was the next evolution of Mike McDaniel's offense, was getting the tight ends utilized.
All right, well, we'll get into some of this more in our 2-point conversation. So let's get into it. Our Week 11 2-point conversation.
Is Jack Del Rio going to go for two here,
He's
Rick?
going for two.
The Raiders will go for two and the probable victory with 47 seconds left.
If you don't make this, you lose. If you make it, you're in a position to win.
Wingman Fantasy Football's 2-point conversation.
And it's good! Oh my goodness!
All right, guys, in our 2-point conversation, this is where we casually go through all the action in the NFL for this week, Week 11. And Bernie's going to steer the ship here. Where are we starting off in our 2-point conversation?
You know what? I had a question for you. I probably should have asked you before we started taping. But
That's okay.
Do we want to go over the Thursday game or no?
We can. I think we should. If you don't, if you don't have anything for it, that's
I
fine.
didn't do it last week, but I did do it this week. So we had the Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Washington Commanders 26-18. So good game on that Thursday night there.
Yeah, Jaden Daniels, at least stat-wise, is starting to slow down. He was doing so well for a while there. And Jalen Hurts is stealing all the touchdowns until Saquon Barkley had his I don't know what happened. Lightning strike. He had 2 touchdowns in 20 seconds and went from nothing to a monster day in no time. But that was a big win for the Eagles. Now that they have a stranglehold on, not a stranglehold, there's enough time still, but with a tiebreaker at the moment and a game and a half up, that was a big game for the Eagles.
Yeah, and that was the Eagles' 6th straight win since the bye. So that's great there. And Barkley, he leads the NFL. As of Thursday, he was leading the NFL with 1,137 rushing yards through 10 games.
That's crazy. I know. When I heard he had over close to 1,100 yards, or whatever it was, this early in the season, like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. So good on that. All right, moving on. Sunday 1:00 games. Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Baltimore Ravens. That's right, I said it. Pittsburgh Steelers defeated the Baltimore Ravens 18-16. Not the high scoring game we all anticipated, but a good game nonetheless.
Yeah, we thought this was going to be a shootout, one way or the other, either keeping up or having to catch up. And this was a defensive battle all the way through. And even that those scores came late in the game, as it wasn't even that high scoring until the fourth quarter. All field goals for the Steelers. And I'm trying to think about anything else about that game. What else do you have on that? I got one thing towards the end, so I'll see if we can fill up some information before that point.
Yeah, so you got it there. We had Justin Fields. He made an appearance in this game. Najee Harris, he had the 63 rushing yards, but he had the game-clinching first down at the end there. And then the key performers here was Derrick Henry with his 15th rushing TD, ties a franchise record. We had Steelers winning their 5th straight game. Lamar Jackson falls 1-4 against the Steelers. And then we have each of the Ravens' turnovers led to a Boswell field goal. So the turnovers really hurt the Ravens there at the end. They scored a late touchdown to pull within 2 points, but they failed the 2-point conversion attempt with 1.06 seconds left. So the Steelers running out the clock with their crucial first down.
So I was going to say something else. I just escaped me. So we'll get to the end here.
Yeah.
Oh, I was going to say Derrick Henry, this game script was out of it was taken out of most of the fourth quarter there.
Mm-hmm.
But he scores a touchdown in every single game. So it doesn't matter. He can even he gets 50 yards, but he still gets 12 to 14 fantasy points at a minimum because he gets that touchdown when they get close.
Yeah, it was an ugly game for fantasy points because we all expected that high score, but good game nonetheless. So, all right, moving right along.
Hold on. Before we go, I want to mention. So at the end of this game, I always like these situations, and I went back and forth here on what a coach should do, and I agreed with what Baltimore did. So they scored the touch. They were down 8 points.
Mm-hmm.
They scored the touchdown with I don't know what it was, a minute and 5 seconds left, minute and 18 seconds left, something like that. Under 2 minutes. They had all 3 timeouts, and they missed the 2-point conversion. So now they're down by 2 points.
Mm-hmm.
The question is, I'm going to ask you real quick, or at least if you have an answer or not. Do you go for the onside kick, or do you kick it away?
You had 3 timeouts left.
Correct.
Yes, I would. With the way this game was going, I would have kicked it. There was only been 2 made onside kicks with the new kickoff rule, and their defense was playing good. They just got beat. I mean, they really did. It would have been done earlier too. Justin Fields came in and he got scrambled that he was a yard short of getting the first down because he slid too early. He
Right.
started his slide too early. So I think with him coming in, that was his like first appearance in this game. They were just throwing off like, okay, what are we doing here? And then he comes in again, and they just. I would have done the same thing though.
So I agree. I was going back and forth. It was like,
Yeah.
I think either one was okay.
Yeah.
But like, if you don't get the onside kick and then you stop them still with your 3 timeouts, now you get the ball back at your 15-yard line.
Right.
And you have to go and get in field goal range at that point without timeouts. If you stop them down there, you get the ball at the 35, 40-yard line, only have to go 15, 20 yards.
Right.
And like you said, so either you're going, it's like one or the other, but as you said, and I agree, the odds of even getting that onside kick are so rare that if you don't get it, you're putting yourself out of field position to make that go ahead game-winning field goal. So I think that was the right move. And that the first run, I don't know if it was Harris or not, but the guy just like fell down. I'm like, you can't run the clock out. What's that?
That was Harris. It looked like he lost his footing or something.
Yeah, it looked weird. Like he just went
yeah.
down to the ground on his stomach. I'm like, they have timeouts. You got to at least try to get 4 yards on this carry to make him play him straight.
Yep.
And that's when they brought in Fields. And he had a nice scramble around the left edge there. And he thought he had it. His eyes saw the marker, so his body started to go down. But that made it a little stressful because now they had to get that first down. They barely got it with Najee Harris. And as you said last week, I was waiting for Russell Wilson to come in and do a bark to get him off sides for the second straight week. But they ended up using their own timeout to see what the defense lined up as and got the ceiling first down. For back-to-back weeks, the Steel man, that's what I thought about it is these coaches are both great. They both did the right things at the end of the game. You know what I mean? Like, just the game has to end at some point, and they both made the decisions, and the team that got the first down won. But it was no blunt. There were no mistakes that made them lose the game.
Exactly. But there were
at least at the very end. At the very end.
Yeah, at the very end. Exactly. So, all right. So good stuff there. Good stuff. All right. Next game, the fun game. Well, fun game for one side. Detroit defeated Jacksonville 52-6. Oh my God.
I was the first touchdown was Montgomery on a run. Second touchdown was Jahmyr Gibbs on a run. Then I believe Montgomery scored again, or there was a passing touchdown to like I think it was a rush. I think the first 3 were 3 rushing touchdowns, if I'm not mistaken. It might have been 2 rushing, 1 passing, then one rushing. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is good and bad. Because I'm like, they could start pulling these guys or they're just going to run the whole time. But their running backs are just as valuable to protect as their quarterback.
Oh, yeah.
So, like, honestly, the reason why they win is because they're running game. So I wasn't sure how it was going to go. Although I thought it was going to go like that. But you're not sure how they're going to do. And then he just started throwing to Jamison Williams had that long touchdown. I think it was the first passing touchdown or one of them. And then he was hitting backup tight ends. And then at the end, he's like, let's get an Amon-Ra going. Let's just top this off.
Yeah, so this was definitely good. So a couple of key notes here about this game though. Zadarius Smith, he recorded a sack in his Lions debut. He's the newly acquired. So that was great to see that. So here are all the records because that's all the Lions do. 46-point margin for the Lions, largest in franchise history. The franchise record with 645 total yards. They're the first team since 1934 to win 9 of their first 10 games, Lions teams. Third team in Super Bowl era to win 3 of their first 10 games by 35 plus points. And then that's just it's just getting out of control. I think I don't know if Dan Campbell knows about all these records that they're doing, but it seems like you said, he's just like, go get it. Just go get it. Like, this isn't Pee Wee football. We're not trying to be nice here. If they want to stop us, they have to stop us. Just go keep scoring. And then when the third quarter is done, we'll pull our starters and we'll go from there. So
Yeah.
they're doing great things, man. So who's there? Is it Ben? Who's their offensive coordinator?
Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson. Yeah. So hopefully, if they get to the Super Bowl and win, or if they get to the Super Bowl, or I'm sorry, when they get to the Super Bowl and win, or if they get to the Super Bowl and they lose, I hope he stays for another round if they can keep the majority of this roster going. I hope he doesn't take the coaching spot.
I think he just showed his next coaching job. He played against Jacksonville. I think he's going to be coaching Jacksonville next year.
Yeah, but a lot of these coaching, why would you want to go there? Why would you want to go to Carolina? Why would you want to go to the Jets? What I guess we could talk about it because we're in the conversation. If Ben Johnson gets an offer from the Jets,
no,
does he get to go in and say, okay, we're going to run my offense, we're going to have my offensive coordinator, or is Aaron like, no, I want Hackett, we're going to run this system, like that? Nobody wants to deal with that.
Right. So I'll answer that question in a second, but before I lose this one thought. So the rumbling today, all on the Twitter spheres, in terms of the the big name reporters, they're like, Doug Peterson's on the hot seat. If they don't play well today, he might be out of a job. Man, they got demolished. A lot of times, if your team really, and I'm not saying it's 1-to-1. If the other team's better than you, what are you going to do? But if you're like, we got to save our guy's job, we like our coach, let's stand up for him. That happened a lot of times for Tampa Bay back in the day with like Tony Dungy, for example. You know what I mean? When he was kind of fading out at the end, they're like, we got to win one for Tony, man. We got to do it. And if they take him out after that, we did our part. I don't know if they didn't care about their coach or they just couldn't handle it. I mean, they're missing their starting quarterback and other players, but they look like they laid down. They're like, get him out of here. We don't care. Our season's done. And they did not fight for their coach today, or they couldn't fight for their coach today, depending on
Yeah, it's tough to see. Okay. Anything else in this one?
I don't think so. In terms of Ben Johnson, the only job I would consider maybe would be the Bears, because you want that quarterback who still has a rookie deal. Going over to Jacksonville, your money's tied up in Trevor Lawrence, who's okay, maybe pretty good. You know what I mean? But your money's tied up in pretty good. If you go to the Bears, you have no money tied up in pretty good. You can get other good parts of your team.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. That's a good call. You should still say no, and they should run it back. Start the Detroit dynasty.
There, yeah, I don't disagree.
All right, next game we have here. The LA Rams defeated the New England Patriots, closer than we all thought, 28-22.
What was the biggest mark? Because that game was closer in score than I thought at the end. I think. And New England had the ball down 6 points. They didn't throw an interception at the end of the game that sealed it. They had a chance to drive to take the lead late in the game.
Yeah, they attempt. I'm sorry. Patriots comeback attempts hurt by missed passing. I'm sorry. I can't even think at the moment.
That's okay. So this one started out. The good thing about the Rams, except for Kyren Williams, who's now on a slump. He has not scored a touchdown in 3 straight games after having touchdowns in 10 straight games. But other than Kyren Williams, which that's not great for what we're used to seeing, he got all of his points to his big time receivers as it was all Puka Nacua and all Cooper Kupp until another touchdown to a backup tight end. I don't know who scored the 4th touchdown, but he was peppering the right players for fantasy points today for the Rams. Do you know what their biggest margin was? I think they were like 21-6, maybe.
No, I don't have that biggest margin here.
It was something like that because they scored 3 touchdowns pretty quick, and three consecutive drives are pretty close to the Rams.
Halftime they were leading 14-10.
Okay, so I'm mistaken there. So maybe it was 21-10. Nonetheless, I was surprised that the Patriots made a game of it at the end and almost had a chance to come back.
Yeah, they did. And Kendrick Bourne was back catching some balls for the Patriots, which was good. And they had their shots. Who was it here? We had the Michael Haucht blocked the extra point attempt. And then Kitchens had the game-sealing interception for the Rams. So it's one of those where it came down to it at the end. But everybody on the Patriots shouldn't be too upset about this. They played better than what everyone expected, I think.
I think the Rams are kind of, in a way, going forward and then backwards. I think they're turning into the Detroit defense, where they're not quite ready yet as a team, but they've got some superstar young players. Kitchen's getting interceptions every week. And then I think it's Kobe Hunter, if I believe, or something like that, is the D lineman. I think it's his third year maybe, was kind of taking over for Aaron Darnold now.
Right.
The same way how Detroit had like a great pass rusher and a great guy in the back, but not enough to fill the whole line or the whole secondary.
Yeah.
If they can fill that out, they're going to start getting their defense back to be dominant in the next 2 to 3 years, hopefully earlier. But Detroit, on the other hand, they're there. They're stopping teams all day.
Yeah. All right, good on the Rams. Rams got to host Philadelphia next week, and the Patriots are at Miami next week. So those should be 2 exciting games as well. All right, New Orleans Saints defeated the Cleveland Browns 35-14. Go Taysom Hill. All
right, so what do you want to start on this game? I know you got a lot of thoughts, and I'll help you out here. I know the score was 14-6, pretty early in favor of the Saints.
It's actually 14-8 at halftime for the Saints.
Is it 8?
Yeah.
Okay. Was there a safety or?
I might have mistyped that. It might have been 14-6.
I think it was 14-6 because they got a 2-point conversion to tie it at 14.
Gotcha.
So I remember that now that you mentioned it. Or that we're talking about it. So it was 14-6 for the Saints, and then Jameis Winston was just throwing bombs every play, and they were connecting early, but then they weren't scoring because they get like a 50-yard catch and then not score. And then eventually they were hitting, and they did score a couple times, and they finally tied it up. They finally started to give Nick Chubb one drive, and he had like 3 or 4 carries for like 35 yards. I'm like, let's do this. We're tie game. Don't get yourself out of script. Kind of like I said with those other games, like don't abandon your run because you think you're down by 6 points when there's still 45 minutes left in the game. And they did just that. They were playing like they were down by 40 points the whole time. And guess what? When you play like you're down 40 points the whole time, you end up being down 40 points because you keep throwing low percentage passes that don't get completed. You might catch the 1 or 2 early like they did with Judy. But if you keep throwing 40-yard, 50-yard bombs, guess what? Your percentage is going to get down to that 20%, 15%, 10%. And over time, it's not a winning play.
Yeah, I think they definitely started the game off where they could have just run, but they started pass heavy. And those passes would have worked just as good if they would have established the run. I think New Orleans was suspect to that run the whole time, and they never took advantage of it. So
I think Chubb only had like 9 carries.
Yeah, Chubb was he looked good when he was running.
I agree.
And he looked strong. He looked healthy. He didn't look like there was an issue. The line looked good. They just didn't call the plays, and I didn't know if they thought they were just needed to get up quick, but establishing that run and slowing it down would have been the best thing for them.
Do you think that's the play caller? I think it's Ken Dorsey, if I'm not mistaken, or you think they let Jameis Winston just pick what he wants to do?
They definitely did not let Jameis Winston pick what he wants to do. I don't think so. I didn't notice any visual audibles to shift plays and stuff.
I didn't either.
Yeah, so I don't think that was the case, but maybe he didn't even go through his progressions. Maybe there were some screens for Chubb that we didn't even get to. Some checkdowns to him in the flat. I didn't see that. Jameson was, as soon as he had his guy downfield, he was letting him rip. And a lot of them were not. They were not good throws. They were good throws, but they were just off target. They were, a good 5 yards over the top. They weren't underthrows. They were all overthrows from what I saw.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but Taysom Hill was doing everything. And I don't know. The Cleveland Browns have a good defense, and I don't know why they couldn't recognize, what Taysom was going to do or what he could do. It's almost like they didn't even plan for him to be in the game or something.
I didn't see the 75-yard touchdown towards the end because the game was already out of reach, but I did see, I don't know the exact yards, about a 39-yard touchdown run where he took a direct snap, that Wildcat style, and ran off to the right tackle there. It was almost like it was a zero coverage in the back. So once he broke through the line, there was only one linebacker, maybe one safety, and he just stiff-armed the first guy who was coming up to him, just put his helmet down right into the ground. And then while he was recovering to look back upfield, I'm assuming a cornerback or someone similar came to tackle him and just bounced off of his hip. He didn't even see him, and the guy just bounced, like hit him and went backwards. And Taysom Hill just kept running straight. It was he looked like a beast out there, but he only had to break one tackle because the I don't know what the Browns were doing today on defense and offense. They were just all over the place. They were just like, well, who cares? Let's just try stuff.
Yeah, pretty much. That's what I saw. So hopefully Cleveland can get it together. They got a pretty big game Thursday night against Pittsburgh next week. So, all right, moving along here. Indianapolis Colts defeated the New York Jets 28-27. And boy, was this a nail biter.
So I don't know the exact order of scores. I just know that the Colts were up early.
Mm-hmm.
Then Breece Hall got a run up the left middle for, I don't know, about 28 yards, give or take. It might be 25 to 35 yards. Just one of those things where he kind of zigzagged the line, and then once he got past the line, he just like, oh, the middle's open, and just ran down. He looked awesome. And that was their only touchdown to that point, and maybe it was like 14-10, give or take, something like that. Or I don't know exactly, or 14-7 maybe. And then not too long after, at the end of the first half, Rodgers just threw a dump down screen pass to Breece Hall, who then did all the work and scored. And Rodgers like, yeah, I threw a touchdown pass to tie the game. Like, you didn't do jack squat. You threw a little screen pass, and they got your best player on the team, who you won't hand the ball off to, because I noticed the whole time it's like they were tied, and they took the lead.
Mm-hmm.
Because after a couple plays of their defense for about a quarter really picked it up for the Jets. I think they either got an interception or a sack or something, and they were just on adrenaline for a good 12 minutes. And look like they were going to dominate the game. And in that time, after they took the lead based on the defense stopping the Colts, instead of running the ball or doing what you should do, Rodgers like, no, I'm the one who has to win this game, and kept just throwing awful pass after awful pass. They went 3 and out so many times. They didn't even do one run play to see if they could get anything going. And Breece Hall was gashing. He was gashing. Yeah. I don't know what these teams are doing. It was, to me, I know we make fun of Rodgers, and some of it's deserved, but like, this was like, he's a bad football player right now, because he's like making bad decisions. You look back like, oh, that throw was okay. He looked like he was, balanced and making a good ball. But like, when you're throwing the ball to a backup tight end at his feet, when you can just hand the ball off and get an easy 3 yards of not longer plays or screen passes. Mm-hmm. I know I keep going. There were multiple times where Breece Hall would go up into the line. You could tell it's like that chip block, and then he would, curl out to be like the screen. And he was wide open, and Rodgers is looking down because he wants to force it down to Devontae Adams in double coverage or something. I'm like, what are you doing, man? The play is made. If he's not open, you've got the check down to a player who's breaking your only touchdowns today. I mean, again, I'm being greedy because Breece Hall had a great fantasy day, but if in terms of the Jets wanting to win games, Rodgers played an awful game today.
Yeah, definitely an awful game. So you were right. The Jets, their first lead was 14-13 in the third quarter, and then they led 27-22 with 2 minutes and 41 seconds left. And they're supposed to have a great defense, just like Cleveland. So it's one of those things where I think the team will take on the personality of the head coach and or the quarterback, and they just looked flat. They just didn't look like they had the juice to get it done. But Richardson, he led his game-winning 10-play drive, which was pretty awesome for a rookie. And then he scored the winning touchdown with 46 seconds left. So it was a good game for Richardson after being benched for 2 games. He didn't look bad at all. And everybody, like Alec Pierce, got some looks. Josh Down got definitely some looks. He was looking great there. So if Pittman was in this, I think they would have been even more dangerous.
No, Pittman was in, and he had a couple big catches over the middle as well. I mean, he didn't get as many targets as Downs, but he had a lot of big catches on third down as well. I had a lot of notes here on this game because I watched this one all the way through. Nice. So it was Richardson looked like he normally is, kind of like he gets random yards. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not smooth. Especially in that first quarter, they scored because he was running the ball, and he scored a rushing touchdown on that on their first score. But it was kind of like they weren't really in a good rhythm, but they were still kind of finding ways to get down the field, especially because the Jets were playing so bad on offense.
Right.
But in the middle part of the game, he made a lot of good throws. Yeah. Guys on it, like he hit Pittman on like the deep crosses, like where you just kind of go 18 yards and down in the middle of the field where he hit him. He was throwing the ball there really nice, and he hit. Downs got a lot of first downs on the seam. I don't know if he was doing like dig routes where he's kind of running 12 yards and turning around, but they weren't long passes, but they were like that 7 to 12 yards. They were always getting first downs. Yeah. And then he hit a couple nice over the shoulders to Alec. He hit all the types of passes today. Did he miss some throughout the day? Yeah, but he made a lot more good passes than I've seen him make in a long time. And that last drive was a clutch drive to take that lead in the last couple minutes.
Yeah, so maybe the kid's got a good head on his shoulders. He paid attention when he was on the bench, paid attention to what he needed to improve, and did the right thing when he came back. So good on him.
I did notice a couple things. The first few drives, they were kind of just moving along there. Jonathan Taylor was doing all right, but they have like a weird timing thing. I think because Richardson has maybe been brought up on that RPO, which is more popular now, but it's instead of like, some of those, like a Peyton Manning would sprint back to the running back to give him as much time to make his move. Get the running back the ball as early as possible in the play. When Richardson's kind of like, do you want the ball? Should I take it? And by the time Taylor gets the ball, he's slowing down. He has one less step to make a cut, and he's kind of getting bottled up. I did notice him get retaped going towards either coming out of halftime. It was in the middle of the game. He got retaped. He didn't miss any time. He missed one drive. Trey Sermon came in. I was keeping my eye on it, but he did come back in. But we know how Taylor responds to these ankle injuries sometimes. And after that, his efficiency went way down. I think he finished with like 6.5 fantasy points, and he had 4.5 of those in the first quarter. Once he aggravated that ankle injury, he really didn't do much. It might have been circumstantial with the game, but I definitely noticed him not doing quite as well after that moment.
Yeah. Richardson, he did good, and then Taylor, I think they definitely need to get some more timing things down in practice, so that is not an issue. I agree with you 100% there. Maybe
do some like wide tosses, turn around, and flip it out to him. Just get it out of Richardson's hands as fast as possible.
There you go. Okay. All right, moving on. Minnesota Vikings, they win. They beat the Tennessee Titans 23-13.
And this game wasn't even that close, as we had a late bomb touchdown by Nick Westbrook-Akine for the Titans there. I didn't get to watch a lot of this game.
Let's not gloss over that. That's a 98-yard touchdown reception.
That's how long it was? I didn't know how long it was. I knew it was long.
98-yard. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. I did not. I was box scoring, watching a little bit in the later part of the games because they were still down by whatever, a score or two, and then I think they went for it on fourth down, didn't get it. They actually stopped Minnesota on a 3-and-out, and then the very next pass was an interception thrown by Levis. He just, in that 2 minutes, he just ended their chances to maybe have a chance to come back.
Oh yeah. And that was the halftime lead for the Vikings. The Vikings scored 16 straight to make it 16-3 going into the halftime, and then coming out the bomb, the 98-yard touchdown made it 16-10.
Okay.
So Levitt, he didn't do bad. I saw a couple of sacks where he looked like he wanted to flick it out, and he just took the sack. He was dropping back, and then he would pull up into the pocket, and then he kind of wanted to spurt out a little bit, and you could see him kind of look up, but then he tucked it to take the sack. So I think he's getting a little bit better as well. He's not as volatile as he was before. So the Vikings, let's see here, the Titans, they did have a 51-yard touchdown nullified by a penalty. And then the Vikings defense.
Who was that too? I didn't see that.
I didn't get the name of who that one was too. Yeah. The Vikings defense, they did stop two late fourth down attempts. So their defense stepped it up at the end of the game.
I think that was part of that sequence I was referencing earlier. Yeah.
Yeah. And they Smith interception kind of sealed that victory, but their defense stepped it up later in the game as opposed to earlier in their game where they did look a little vulnerable. So
okay.
Yeah. All right, go Minnesota. Let's see here. Oh, the Miami Dolphins defeated the Las Vegas Raiders. Listen to this score, Mike. 34-19. Miami scored 34 points.
That's the first time they broke the 30-point barrier this year, if I'm not mistaken. I thought I heard that on the telecast there.
That is correct.
And they got, except for Waddle, I mean, once again, Tyreek Hill didn't have a great game. He had a good game. I think he had 15.5 points. He caught a touchdown. He had a couple big third down catches in that second half, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And then Tua you could tell how you said he gets the ball. He's a timing guy. He drops back, he puts that foot in the ground, and he has to make that pass. But when it's covered and he has to double think about it, He doesn't know what to do sometimes. He starts to like kind of scramble and doesn't know which way to go. He gets sacked sometimes when he's like, I was supposed to throw it already.
Just throw it
now
away.
what?
Just throw it away.
Yeah. One time though, so that happened once earlier in the game where he kind of stepped up when he didn't realize when his first read wasn't there, and he got sacked and fumbled the ball, just dropped it. Later in the game, that same thing happened, but instead he went down and then ducked out to the left, and that's when he threw it down the sideline. I think it was Waddle who had a nice, I could be mistaken, but it was one of those plays where he found a guy open because he did like a Brock Purdy where he kind of stepped up and then ran to the outside and just waited till he could find somebody. And that Jonnu Smith second touchdown, no one guarded him. He just walked out.
Oh, yeah. He was
18 to 22 yards down the field, turned around, just like,
yeah.
And he just lofted it to him. That was another one that his first read didn't hit. And when he a couple times he did complete plays where he didn't hit his first read, but you could tell he looks uncomfortable. He's like, oh my gosh, please someone be wide open. Oh, good. Jonnu Smith's sitting out there. And he just turned around and jogged to the end zone.
So what does that mean? So, as Dolphin fans, as friends of Dolphin fans, it's one of those things. It's like, okay, you hit the guy on broken coverage. Does that make you good or does that make you serviceable? Like he played an efficient game. He's 28 of 36 with 288 yards and 3 touchdowns. So he was good. They had 8 out of their 12 third downs converted and 3 of their 4 red zone trips were scores. Like they played an efficient game, but did they just play it against a bad defense or are they a good team?
Bad defense. I think if I was obviously I'm not an NFL coach. If I was a defensive coordinator, I would just, you're allowed to hit the guys in those first 5 yards. I would just blitz punch their receivers because if they don't get off their routes the way they want to come off, Tua doesn't know what to do. Just the first thing to do is just shove the guy in front of you. And when Tua's like, oh crap, and then you can, because they're running. Achan's good, but he doesn't break through tackles. They're manufactured plays. Let your 4 guys deal with him. Just shove into the wide receivers and then rally to the ball.
Yeah. And so the Dolphins, they did one other good note for them. They had 3 7+ minute scoring drives.
Yeah, they had a lot of long drives today. Yeah.
Yeah. So, they did good. And Ramsey had an interception that kind of ended the Raiders' hopes. So it was good all around.
Did you notice to give Ramsey his flowers here? Not only the interception was easy because it was just an overthrown ball where he just kind of sat there on his knees and caught it, but at the end of the game, because the game it wasn't, it was a 2-score game and you need a lot of things to go right for the Raiders, but they were trying to score as quick as they could. Maybe there was only like a minute left. They had to score in the last 30 seconds if they were going to score it all and then have a chance for an onside kick. However, I think they're out of timeouts by that point, I would assume. 3 different times as the receiver catches like a ball to the outside and trying to run out of bounds, Jalen Ramsey cracked the guy to make his forward momentum stop as he was trying to step out of bounds. He's like, nope, you're not going forward out of bounds, you're going backwards. And the rule is that once you start going backwards, and if you're not out of bounds yet, the clock's running. He made that clock run on 2 different plays in the last minute. The game was, and most accounts, is out of reach. You would see a superstar player just like, let him go out. We got this. We just got to, not let him catch 2 touchdowns in 10 seconds. But he cracked 2 big tackles that sealed the fate. On the last one, when he hit him and he saw the referee winding his arm, he ran out the field like he knew the game was over, took his helmet off, run down the field, almost like he blocked a kick because he knew that one play, they were going to win anyway. Yeah. I was impressed, though, someone giving up their body to ensure a victory. I was very impressed with his play today.
There you go. Hopefully he didn't get hurt for next week.
Yeah.
All right. Moving along here. Anything else in that one?
No, the Raiders couldn't do anything.
Yeah,
the Raiders couldn't do anything, and they actually scored a couple of times to keep it kind of close. And in the second half, but overall, the longer this game was going to go, the bigger the spread was going to be by the end for the Dolphins.
Exactly. So, all right, this one, there's another nail biter here. Green Bay Packers defeated the Chicago Bears 20-19, and that score is as close as it was. That game was a tight game.
I think. How much time was left when Jordan Love scored that 1-yard rushing touchdown to take the lead in the fourth quarter?
I don't have a time stamp. 1-yard touchdown puts the Packers up 20-19. I don't have a time stamp on that. I'm sorry.
I could find it. What else do you have on this game? I do want to look that up, actually.
So the Packers, they scored on their opening drive, which was good, but then the Bears led 19-14 late in the third quarter. They failed 2-point conversion, kept it real close coming down to it. But what's this guy's name here? Carl Brooks had the game-winning field goal block at the end. Honestly, this was one of those things where I think that Jordan Love, his lower body didn't seem like it was healthy. He wasn't injured, but it didn't seem like he was like with it. Some of his movements, some of his throws, the timing wasn't quite there. He didn't look as mobile as he wanted to be. I want to say he looked uncomfortable, but he didn't look off. He didn't look like he was hurt, but he just didn't.
Maybe not his best shape, but not injured. Yeah,
exactly. But the Bears played good, man. Caleb, he played well. I saw Keenan had a late game catch that kind of kept them alive. DJ Moore had a couple of big catches that I was like, oh, he's putting his shoulder down. Swift had a nice breakout run in this game. So the Bears, they looked good. I don't want to take anything away from them. So they look good. There's heartbreaking loss there at the end.
I don't know if he finished off this way, but for a long time during the game, Josh Jacobs was just getting big time, just chunk plays, man. And I was like, oh, he's not running the ball that well. I mean, he was doing okay, but like, oh no, he had 4 catches for 55 yards. He was catching the ball and getting rushing yards. I don't know what he finished with combined there, but and he also had a nice touchdown. I thought he was going to get that 1-yard touchdown at the end as were driving down as a greedy manager there. But that touchdown that came in by Jordan Love was at 3 minutes left, 3:02 in the fourth quarter to take the lead because they were down it actually went back and forth. It was 14-13, then 19-14 on the missed 2-point conversion you mentioned. And then the Packers took the lead back with 3 minutes to go. And this is the second straight week, if I'm not mistaken. We got 2 things happen for the second straight week. So we had the team with the rookie quarterback who had to try and go down the field and use up all the time so the other team wouldn't get the ball back because it was going to be a close game here. So Caleb Williams, like Bo Nix last week against the Chiefs, used the entire time left. Now, it wasn't 6 minutes like last week. It was 3 minutes, but nonetheless, used the 3 minutes to get down into field goal range to win the game at the buzzer. And both weeks, the rookie quarterback was not rewarded as the higher pedigree team blocked the kick at the buzzer to save their, to get the win there. So, I mean, good play situationally by Caleb Williams. Once again, did not score a touchdown passing or rushing, but he did have a ton of rushing yards, especially in that first half.
Yeah. Caleb played well. He played much better than the game before. The Bears as a whole played much better than the game before. So hopefully this new coordinator can get them rolling again, and hopefully their spirits don't get broken like they did with that Hail Mary a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah.
All right. Denver Broncos defeated the Atlanta Falcons 38-6.
I don't know what the secondary was doing for the Falcons, but Bo Nix was doing he didn't even run today. He didn't have to. He had so much time, and I have to say, it's not always. He's the opposite of Tua, where Tua has a little bit of I don't want to say a float ball, but he drops it in there kind of thing. He was rifling these. These are line drive. All of his passes were line drives over the middle. There were a couple that you're like, he just outpaced the outstretched arm of the linebacker, and the cut in from the receiver was in front. It's almost like when you do a slant, at the line of scrimmage, you're trying to beat the cornerback in front of you, get in front of his face. They were doing that 25 yards down the field. He was getting in front of the safety's face, and he was just out throwing the anticipation of the covering linebackers on the underneath. That happened at least 5 or 6 times. Just rifle balls past the under coverage and the deep posts or crosses were getting in front of the back line defense. And then when you catch those on those crosses, you can turn up field a lot. They were catching the ball. He was hitting them in stride, line drives in stride. And then also Cortland Sutton had one of his great catches where the one underthrown ball, that's the only underthrown ball all day. Cortland Sutton just jumped up, reached over the guy and brought it back to make a nice catch. He was just having a field day today. And I think the Atlanta defense kind of quit on this one, especially later in the game when they started piling it on.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there was 14-3 after Javante's touchdown run. Then it was 21-6 at halftime. And then the Broncos scored 17 unanswered in the second half. So they definitely, if they didn't give up, they definitely played like they had one hand behind their back for sure.
That's what it was. The first half, they were matching scoring drive for scoring drive, but it was touchdown to field goal, touchdown to field goal. touchdown, and they got in field goal range. He didn't miss the kick, Did they have a penalty, or they went for it on fourth down or something? They were in field goal range at one point, and I thought they were going to score another field goal before halftime, and they didn't score. I don't remember.
No, the clock ran out. Drake London didn't get.
Oh, that's the one where he didn't get out of bounds.
Yeah, the clock ran out. So Koo made two field goals, a 41 and a 51. So he felt good, better than last week for sure. This was tough to watch though. But Knicks has got some records going here. Knicks joined Peyton Manning as the only rookie quarterbacks to 200 plus yards and 2+ TDs in 4 straight home games. That's pretty big time, man.
That is amazing. Yeah, we were talking about how we thought he was playing at the beginning of the year. He looked a little overwhelmed. He's not doing that running backward, kind of that Levis run where you run backwards and you hope you can get around the edge, and he wasn't doing it.
No.
Now when he runs straight up. He doesn't really run around the back too much. So he's getting those like kind of Taysom Hill style runs when he does run. But I didn't realize how strong his arm was. I thought because he threw short passes his whole career in college. Man, he can rifle that ball. I was impressed with his arm strength.
Yeah, and his completion percentage. He was 28 of 33. So that's pretty good for a young kid.
Yeah. I did notice a couple things here also in terms of running backs for both sides. Tyler Algier was nowhere to be found. That part was great, but Kirk Cousins made sure that no one else on his team would be found either, as he just kept getting sacked and going 3 short drives. But that was nice. I mean, in terms of everyone in the fantasy world was clamoring about Algier getting too much work. Nothing personal, just come on,
Yeah. So
and then,
go
ahead. I'm sorry.
No. Go ahead.
So the other thing I wanted to mention here was you mentioned Javonte Williams' touchdown. Audric Estime didn't touch the ball except 1 or 2 times until the middle of the third quarter. And I don't know if it was just they're kind of like let one guy wear him down, let the other guy be the finisher. But also by that point, the game was pretty much out of reach. I don't know if Estime looked okay, but he didn't come close to the output that Williams did. And Williams, I was watching because I was like, all right, it's 3rd and long or 3rd and whatever. Williams is by far their best blocking. And I don't mean blocking like for running plays. I mean blocking for like blitz pickup and protection. He's in there all the time. Even in those games when you see him with 1 carry, he's in way more than you realize because he's in there doing the blocking. But he was in almost every single play for the first half into the second and third quarter. And the touchdown, did you watch his touchdown run?
Yes. His touchdown run was pretty awesome.
So he gets the ball. I don't know exactly. It was maybe an 13 to 18 yard touchdown run. He's running in. He slams into a defender at the 5-yard line. They both just kind of stand each other up, and because they don't go one way or the other. Both teams rally to get the pile. The defense and the offense. Did you see that Javonte Williams picked his feet up and got carried in?
Yes.
He was I'm not gonna. Why add extra friction on the ground for about 2 yards? He was sandwiched between everybody. He literally picked his feet up just to have less drag on the ground, and he finished it. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah. So it's it was awesome. It's one of those it's like awareness football. It's like all that's going on, and I'm aware enough to go. I don't want to get hurt, and this should be easier for my guys if I just pick my feet up. Yeah. So. It was tough to watch. It was like watching a Paul Tyson fight, and Bo Nix was definitely the younger cat in that fight.
All right.
Here we go. Seattle Seahawks defeated the San Francisco 49ers 20-17, and this was a fun one. I did watch this one. This was a fun game to watch.
So once again, I think it's the 3rd time this year. Was this game was it was in San Francisco, right, or Santa Clara?
Yes.
So for the 3rd time this year, at least it might be 4th, the 49ers have given up a second half lead. And I know at least 2, if not all 3, were again at home. The one of the Cardinals was at home. There's one earlier. I forget who it was to. Was it to Tampa Bay maybe? Anyway, they lost.
They've lost. I think I have the stat you're looking for here. They lost 3 division games, all with blown 4th quarter leads. So they were all 3 division games.
Oh, it was the Rams game, right? That Rams game where the Rams just kept running the ball and they were down the whole time. That's right. Yep. Thank you for refreshing my memory. Yeah. So again, and Purdy looked good in these games. I don't know. They just stall out. They don't stop. Their defense changed. Nick Bosa missed most of the 4th quarter, and that's when the Seattle Seahawks scored 2 touchdowns in the last however many minutes, 2 to 10 minutes.
Yeah, and he wasn't even in on the final drive.
Right. But Christian McCaffrey did okay, didn't score. He got beat up a lot, but he played almost every single snap. They are working him all the way. I saw Jordan Mason get 2 carries in the first drive, and I was like, oh, they're going to split carries, and that was it. He didn't touch the ball again on the field again after that. Garendo came in once or twice on a third down where they were just blocking for like another play not involving the running back, but it was all McCaffrey today in terms of playing time.
Yeah, as far as the running backs go, he did hit the century mark. He did have 106 yards, so that was good for his fantasy day, just to hit that 100-yard mark without the touchdown. But Jawan Jennings really helped them, with getting the first downs, getting the touchdown with 9:33 left. Jennings, he looked good. He looked confident. He looked strong. So the 49ers, they had a crucial stop on the fourth quarter, on the fourth down against the Seahawks that the Seahawks did get, but they couldn't do anything after that. So,
and I noticed Ken Walker finished his day decently as he scored not the last touchdown. That was a nice Geno Smith run. That's right. But the touchdown prior to that to set up the chance for the comeback was Walker finally got in. Up to that point, he was being bottled up. He looked great, though. He was so shifty. He was scat backing, but by the time he'd get tackled, he was only gaining a yard or two. He was making 3 guys miss, but there were 4 guys there. This kind of thing.
Yeah. And then Smith, he did lead that 80-yard game-winning drive in the final 2 minutes. So it was like 2:38 left for him to get that when he scrambled for that TD with 12 seconds left. So Geno played well, man. I wouldn't say that he didn't play good. I thought he was going to have a much lower scoring, but that touchdown at the end really helped him.
He was fired up. He was fired up. Of course you would be, but I mean, they wanted this one.
They definitely did. And then don't sleep on Jackson Smith and Jigba. 10 catches for 110 yards. Another solid day for him.
Yeah, he looked good too.
Yeah. All right. Moving along, Buffalo. They defeat the Kansas City Chiefs. This is our last game here, 30-21.
This one I was just a box score watching a little bit. I was trying not to watch Chiefs stuff because I just traded away 2 Chiefs players. And it was fun to see Patrick Mahomes hit everyone for touchdowns except people that mattered. Backup, he hit P. Ryan once, backup to Noah Gray once or twice, I think.
Noah Gray had 2 touchdown receptions.
Yeah, okay. And then I saw Hendershot caught the ball that got him down to like the 1-yard line in the first drive or second time they scored. So it was just Mahomes does what he does, kind of sprinkled around stats to get to that 18 to 20 points, but didn't help anyone else on his team this week. But they were outmatched, and we kind of, we're not saying they're a paper tiger, but they've been winning close games and they have not been dominating. They've been outperforming in a situational play sometimes late. Last week they got lucky with a block kick as they were totally outplayed by Denver. This time you're playing against a better team that you're not going to be able to not score 1 or 2 times. And Josh Allen put it on his back in that second half and was a monster to spread the lead out going into the late fourth quarter.
Yeah, as much as I don't like to root for Josh Allen, that touchdown run at the end, man, that looked good. He looked really, really good. He's playing good football. He's not playing bad football. Amari Cooper looked good on his return back. So the Bills, they looked okay. Moss looked good. He didn't look like he was hurt or anything like that. So
who are you talking about?
Moss. Zach Moss?
No. Zach Moss out for the season. Which team? James Cook, maybe?
Oh, James Cook. I'm sorry.
That's fine. That's fine. I
just
was confused.
Yes, I'm sorry. James Cook. I have Buffalo running back.
That's okay.
James Cook with his 2 rushing touchdowns. So he looked good as well. And then I don't know. The Bills look like they're good again, but again, we have to just keep looking back where they win the regular season, but they just can't win in the playoffs. So,
well, you can't. You got to get there, But
yeah.
Same with the Ravens. The Ravens can't get over the hump either. They have better regular seasons or just as good.
Yeah. So, anything else on this underwhelming game?
No, not really.
Yeah. So I think Kansas City will be fine. I think that they'll get their act together. They're going to find a way to win. As much as we don't want to root for them, I don't want to root for either one of these teams, but I don't think this hurts Kansas City at all.
Actually, before we leave, I have to say one more thing. This is the last undefeated team to lose this season, so our Dolphin fans out there are going to pop their bottles of champagne. No undefeated season for the 2024 NFL season, so whatever that's worth. Cheers to those old guys from Miami.
Oh man, wasn't that before we were born?
Yes.
Lovely. All right, that's it for the games this week. And
all right, guys.
We've got we're recording this Sunday night. It is 27-6 Chargers at the moment.
That's gonna end the Bengals season, or not end it. There's still a lot of losing teams, but the Chargers are up. Touchdown. Jamar Chase just scored a touchdown. All right. Whatever that's worth. Okay.
Yeah.
Take a look at our early waiver wire thoughts here. We're going to have to dive in a little bit more in depth as we get to our next show, but I've got a few names here. You can go ahead and I'll just fill in the gaps if you want. Do you have any early waiver wire thoughts?
Somebody should pick up Taysom Hill, but don't play him because you're not going to get anything out of him. Drake May is out there. Can we get a little bit of love for Drake May here? Caleb Williams, he's out there. So those two rookies, Will Levis, he looks a little decent. Look at your matchups, see what you can get. Those are the only quarterbacks that I would probably pick up off of the waiver wire at the moment. You got any hidden gem quarterbacks?
No, you went right down my list one for one. Just he was saying you're not going to get points from Taysom Hill because the Saints are on bye next week. If you do want to hold them through the bye, because if you want them, you're going to have to get them, but you're going to have to be willing to hold on to a player that's not playing next week, and there's a lot of teams on bye next week, so it's going to be a tough ad. And he's so sketchy, you don't know what his role is going to be, but they are playing the Rams in week 13, if that changes your mind at all. Drake May's up against Miami and Caleb Williams against Minnesota. We see how Caleb Williams does against, we said, bottom third defenses, and Minnesota is not a bottom third defense. He's been dominated by top tier defenses. So yes, he's out there. That's a longer term play. I wouldn't pick him up to stream him, but I'm not against picking him up to see what he might do, 2 to 5 weeks from now.
Yeah. And then as far as running backs go, the same situation as last week. This is really, there's no one standout. These are all, you pick up guys that you think might be good handcuffs, for those teams. Roschon Johnson has been getting touchdowns, but he is touchdown dependent. He's available. Abdullah, he's probably going to be the starter, but I don't know if you really want a Las Vegas running back at this time. And that's really it, man. Kenneth Gainwell, I guess, if you want somebody behind Barkley as a handcuff, but that's really all I got.
Yeah, Abdullah would be the only guy who would catch my attention. He's not a big back. But they're also a team that could be coming from behind, and he's the type of player, he got all his work when they were trying in that comeback mode, half because that's his role and half because the other guys were banged up. So it might work out where he might get some extra work there. So I don't know. I didn't write him down, even though he's in my head, so I don't know who they're playing next week, if that makes a difference. I do have one receiver here. He's out there in our league. He's been picked up and dropped a couple times here, but Xavier Worthy, the Kansas City Chiefs are playing Carolina next week. I'm not sure which side of the ball is going to help them, because we see that Carolina gives up points to whatever the team wants to do. I'm not sure what Kansas City wants to do or what they can do, because they're obviously a decent offense. I think they want to run the ball, and I think they want to get Kelsey. He's kind of like their extension of the run game. So that might be I don't know who's going to do good in that game. I don't think they can feed all of their players, but that is a team that you can target, and Xavier Worthy is out there playing against Carolina next week.
Yeah, and if you want a little bit piece of that Bo Nix, if you think Bo Nix is going to start developing into a better passer, depending on the games, obviously Marvin Mims is out there, and then a bunch of tight ends. You got Johnny Smith is out there still, Noah Gray, Zach Ertz. So if you're really struggling at tight end, bye weeks are coming up still. Got lots of teams on bye next week, so just take a look through. I would probably target Johnny Smith and Taysom Hill, though.
All right. I do have a couple defenses here, not super standout choices here. And Bernie, don't listen to me because I'm killing you on the streaming defenses.
Yeah, you're fine.
But although New Orleans could add 2 or 3 touchdowns today, I thought they were going to score. But the Washington Commanders are up against Dallas next week. Not sure how Cooper Rush. I know he had an awful game last week. I'm expecting to bounce back a little bit, but if he doesn't bounce back on this Monday night, they may turn to Trey Lance, and you definitely want Washington if Trey Lance is going to get the start. It's a bonus play against Cooper Rush. It's a slam play against Trey Lance. So just keep that in mind. Washington is playing Dallas in Week 12, and the Arizona Cardinals, who are a strong defense, are playing against Seattle, who is a bit schizophrenic. You said how Geno Smith looked good today. He had a couple nice runs, and I remember 3 or 4 weeks ago, you're like, he looks really bad running. He looks a little goofy. So you don't know how he's going to perform. He throws 3 touchdowns one week and 3 picks the next. So that's just a gamble there. Arizona is a strong team, but they're also a gamble in how they play sometimes in terms of game script. But these are the 2 defenses that catch my attention: Washington against Dallas and Arizona versus Seattle. Anything else you want to add for early waiver wire thoughts?
Nah, I don't look at kickers and defenses until Wednesday morning.
All right, guys. I do want to give a shout out to Ben real quick. He had 3 guys going into this morning that were on bye or were hurt and not going to play, and he filled up a roster. I think he's going to get the win this week. So nice job, Ben. I was nervous you weren't paying attention, but way to go to fielding a roster and maybe even a winning roster at that. With that being said, guys, thank you.
Wait.
Yep.
I got one more thing.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
I just wanted to say that your Sunday morning show was awesome.
Thank you.
You helped everybody get situated, got it out early enough to where we had time to look at it and do some research. So good job and getting up and getting that done.
Yeah, I can't guarantee that I was, had some time on my hands. I was up overnight.
Don't say that. Don't say that.
But yeah, my goal is to maybe get that out because it's an important one and a nice one to start your morning with coffee and kind of figure out what your fantasy day might look like. So I'm gonna try and do that again going forward, but we'll see how it goes.
and it was short enough to where we could get it, consume it, and be done.
Right, exactly. All right, guys, with that being said, thank you so very much for watching another episode of Wingman Fantasy Football, the League podcast. Don't forget, you can find our audio feeds on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, TuneIn Radio, Amazon Music, and YouTube Music. Just search Wingman the League and follow those podcasts. If you're not sure if you want to watch the video or listen to the audio, you can go to wingmanentertainment.net/podcast, where both versions are on that page. And if you want to see these beautiful faces, go ahead to our YouTube channel at wingmanfantasyfootball.com/YouTube. When you're over there, guys, hit that like button, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment, and we'll get you in on our next mailbag segment. With that being said, guys, may your glasses be full, your mugs stay frosty.
And remember, a touchdown on your bench is worth 2 in someone else's lineup.
I'm not sure how that works, but yeah, it hurts just as much. That's for sure. Yeah. All right. That's what it meant. That's what you meant. I'm sorry. All right. See you guys. Thank you.